Let's get right into it. Your brain, for all its magnificent feats like calculating rocket trajectories and creating memes, has a critical security flaw. It's terrible at judging character. Not just a little bit bad, but catastrophically, hilariously, life-ruiningly bad. You'd think that after a few 100,000 years of evolution, we'd have developed some decent antivirus software to detect liars, manipulators, and general scumbags, but we haven't. Instead, our skulls are home to a buggy, outdated operating system full of psychological glitches that make us trust the absolute worst people. These aren't just silly mistakes, they are fundamental design flaws in our cognition. And the most dangerous part? They run silently in the background, convincing you that you're making a rational decision when you're actually handing the keys to your life over to a wolf who's wearing a very cheap-looking sheep costume. So today, we're running a diagnostic. We're going to count down the sneakiest psychological glitches that make you a terrible judge of character. Have you ever met someone so charming, so good-looking, so effortlessly put together that you just knew they had to be a good person? They have a firm handshake, perfect teeth, and they laugh at all your dumb jokes. Your brain immediately flags them as trustworthy, intelligent, and kind. You'd let them watch your dog. You'd let them watch your kid. You'd probably let them do your taxes. This isn't just you being a good judge of people. It's your brain taking a very dangerous shortcut. This is famously known as the halo effect. It's a cognitive bias where our overall impression of a person is overwhelmingly influenced by a single positive trait. In most cases, that trait is physical attractiveness. Our brain is fundamentally lazy. It doesn't want to spend the energy to carefully assess dozens of different character traits like honesty, integrity, and compassion. Instead, it finds one shiny, easily identifiable quality and lets its glow create a halo that illuminates everything else about that person. Think of it like a cheap Photoshop filter. Your brain sees attractive and just autofills the rest of the template with smart, funny, and definitely not a serial killer. The most chilling case study for this, of course, is Ted Bundy. By all accounts, Bundy was handsome, charismatic, and educated. He was the opposite of the monster people expected. He weaponized the halo effect. His clean-cut appearance and easy charm were his primary tools for luring victims, disarming witnesses, and even manipulating law enforcement. People, including police and journalists, simply couldn't reconcile the nice young man they saw with the horrific acts he was committing. Their brains had created a halo, and it blinded them to the demon hiding underneath. The halo effect works because, from an evolutionary perspective, attractiveness often signaled health and good genes, a reliable partner. But we don't live in small tribes anymore. We live in a world of 8 billion people, where a charming smile can be a carefully crafted mask. So the next time you're instantly impressed by someone's polish, remember that your brain is just trying to save a little bit of energy. And that energy it's saving could be the very thing you need to notice that their halo is actually on fire. Let's start with a scenario. You read a news story about a sweet old grandmother who lost her life savings to a ridiculously obvious phone scammer. A prince from a foreign land needed her help, and all it would cost was her entire retirement fund. Now, be honest, after the initial wave of sympathy, what was your second thought? Was there a tiny, shameful voice in the back of your head that whispered, well, she must have been a little naive, a little greedy, maybe? I would never fall for that. That little voice isn't you being a monster. It's a defense mechanism, a psychological glitch called the just world fallacy. This is the cognitive bias that makes us want to believe the world is an orderly, predictable, and fair place where people get what they deserve. Good things happen to good people, and bad things happen to bad people. It's a comforting thought, a security blanket for the mind that protects us from the terrifying, random cruelty of the universe. The problem is the world is not just. It's chaotic, and believing it's fair makes you profoundly vulnerable. Scammers, con artists, and cult leaders build their entire empires on this fallacy. Look at the victims of Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. These weren't just naive grandmothers. They were savvy investors, celebrities, and brilliant business people. Yet when the scheme collapsed, the public narrative wasn't just about Madoff's evil. It was laced with subtle victim blaming. They should have known it was too good to be true, people said. They were blinded by greed. This is the just world fallacy in action. By framing the victims as somehow deserving of their fate due to greed or foolishness, we insulate ourselves from the horrifying reality that it could have happened to us. If they made a mistake, then as long as we don't make that same mistake, we're safe. It's a lie. The victims weren't uniquely greedy, they were just human. Madoff exploited trust, not a character flaw. This glitch fundamentally alters who we trust. We subconsciously distrust victims because acknowledging their innocence means acknowledging our own vulnerability. We want to believe that if we are just good, smart, and careful enough, bad things won't happen. This makes us prime targets for manipulators who project an aura of success and stability, people who look like winners in a just world. They know you want to believe in fairness, and they will sell you that belief at any price. You're 2 hours into a truly terrible movie. The plot makes no sense. The acting is so wooden you could get a splinter, and you're pretty sure the boom mic has more screen time than the lead actor. Every instinct is screaming at you to walk out, but you don't. Why? Because you paid $15 for the ticket, another $12 for the stale popcorn, and damn it, you've already invested 2 hours of your life. You have to see how it ends, right? Wrong. This is your brain falling for one of the most common and destructive glitches in human cognition, the sunk cost fallacy. Now, replace movie ticket with 5 years of your life and stale popcorn with your emotional well-being. See the problem? The sunk cost fallacy is our irrational tendency to continue with a course of action, not because it's the best decision for the future, but because of the resources we've already invested in the past. Our brain absolutely despises the idea of waste. It feels like a loss, a failure. So instead of cutting our losses and walking away from a bad investment, whether it's a failing business, a toxic friendship, or a soul-crushing relationship, we double down. We throw good money after bad, good time after bad, good emotions after bad, hoping that somehow our continued investment will retroactively justify the initial bad decision. This is the psychological quicksand that keeps people stuck with the wrong person. You've known for months, maybe years, that your partner is manipulative or your business partner is shady, but you've built a life together. You've put in the time. You've introduced them to your family. You've invested so much that the thought of walking away makes all that past effort feel like it was for nothing. And that feeling is so painful that staying in a miserable present seems like the less bad option. Manipulators are masters of exploiting this. They know you've invested. They count on it. They know that the more time and energy you sink into them, the harder it is for you to leave. Every argument you endure, every dollar you lend them, every tear you cry is just another anchor holding you in place. They're not just taking from you in the present, they're using your own past against you. The sunk cost fallacy is the invisible chain that makes you think you're saving an investment when you're really just volunteering to go down with a sinking ship. From a very early age, our brains are trained to do one thing very well: listen to the person in charge. In our ancient past, this was a brilliant survival strategy. Trusting the tribal elder or the lead hunter was a pretty good way to avoid eating poisonous berries or becoming a saber-toothed tiger's lunch. This deep-seated deference to authority is so hardwired into us that it often operates without our conscious consent. And in the modern world, that can be terrifying. If you think you're immune, let me introduce you to Stanley Milgram's infamous 1961 experiment at Yale University. The setup was simple and deeply sinister. Volunteers were told they were participating in a study about memory and learning. They were given the role of teacher, and their job was to administer an electric shock to a learner in another room every time the learner got a question wrong. The shock generator had 30 switches, starting at a mild 15 volts and going all the way up to a terrifying 450 volts, labeled XXX. Now, the learner was an actor, and the shocks weren't real. But the teacher, the actual subject of the experiment, didn't know that. They were being supervised by a man in a gray lab coat, an experimenter, who was the figure of authority. As the test progressed and the fake shocks got stronger, the actor in the other room would begin to grunt, then shout, then scream in agony, begging for it to stop. If the teacher hesitated, the man in the lab coat would calmly state one of 4 pre-written lines: "Please continue, Ramon. The experiment requires that you continue." That's it. No threats, no yelling, just a calm instruction from a guy wearing the right costume. The results were horrifying. A full 65% of participants, 2 out of every 3 ordinary people, obeyed the authority figure and went all the way to the maximum lethal 450-volt shock, long after the learner had fallen silent. This wasn't because these people were secret sadists. It was because the presence of a perceived, legitimate authority figure was enough to make them outsource their own moral judgment. The lab coat, the serious tone, the prestigious university setting, It all created an authority cloak so powerful that it overrode their own empathy and conscience. Their brain glitched, telling them, this person is in charge. They are responsible, not me. We may not be in Milgram's lab anymore, but authority cloaks are everywhere. It's why we fall for financial scammers who call themselves CEOs of fake companies. It's why we follow terrible medical advice from someone with Dr. Titar in their name on social media. It's why we trust people in uniforms without question. A clever manipulator doesn't need to earn your trust if they can just borrow the costume of someone you're already programmed to obey. There's no feeling quite like it. You're talking to someone new and they just get it. They laugh at the same jokes, they hate the same things. They nod along enthusiastically as you explain your grand theory about why pineapple on pizza is a crime against humanity. It feels fantastic. It feels like you've found a kindred spirit. But this warm, fuzzy feeling of being understood can also be a sophisticated psychological trap. This vulnerability is built around a glitch called confirmation bias. It's our brain's powerful subconscious tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information that confirms what we already believe. It's an ego protection system. Grappling with ideas that challenge our worldview is hard work. It causes cognitive dissonance and mental strain. It's so much easier and more pleasant to just listen to things that reinforce our opinions. When you meet someone who constantly agrees with you, your brain isn't really evaluating their character. It's just enjoying a nice, warm dopamine bath of self-validation. You're not thinking, this person is trustworthy. You're thinking, this person agrees with me, which reaffirms my own intelligence and correctness. That feeling of being right gets tangled up with the feeling of trust. This is the primary recruitment tool for almost every cult and extremist group in history. They don't open with the really crazy stuff. A cult leader doesn't walk up to you and say, hi, I'm Dave, and in 3 years I'd like you to sell all your possessions and wait for the mothership. No, they start by building an echo chamber. They find a common ground, a shared frustration, a mutual feeling of being an outsider, a common belief. They agree with you. Then they agree with you some more. They make you feel seen and validated. Each time you say yes to a small, reasonable point, it becomes psychologically harder to say no to the next, slightly less reasonable point. They are grooming you through agreement. Before you know it, you're in so deep that challenging the group's beliefs would mean challenging your own identity, which has now become completely fused with theirs. Confirmation bias is the invisible fence that keeps you in. So be wary of the person who agrees with you too easily. A true friend or a trustworthy partner will challenge you, debate you, and call you out on your nonsense. A manipulator won't. They will build you a beautiful, comfortable echo chamber, and by the time you realize the only voice you can hear is your own, they'll be the one holding the microphone. Have you ever read your horoscope and felt a little shiver of recognition? Or maybe you took a "which TV character are you?" quiz online and were shocked at how accurately it captured your deepest, most secret personality traits. It feels like the author peered directly into your soul, right? It's a magical feeling. It's also a complete illusion. This is the Barnum Effect, named after the circus showman P.T. Barnum, who famously said there's a sucker born every minute. A more scientific name for it is the Forer Effect, named after psychologist Bertram R. Forer, who demonstrated it perfectly in 1948. Forer gave his psychology students a personality test. The following week, he handed each of them what he claimed was a unique, personalized analysis of their results. He then asked them to rate its accuracy on a scale of 0 to 5. The average score was a stunning 4.26 out of 5. The students were amazed at how well he had captured their essence. Here's the twist. He had given every single student the exact same paragraph. He just copied it from a newsstand astrology column. It was filled with statements like, you have a great need for other people to like and admire you. You have a tendency to be critical of yourself. And at times you have serious doubts as to whether you have made the right decision or done the right thing. The Barnum Effect works because these statements are incredibly vague but feel deeply personal. They are universal human experiences dressed up as unique insights. Your brain, in its constant quest to understand itself, eagerly grabs onto these generic phrases and does all the hard work. When you read, you have a great deal of unused capacity which you have not turned to your advantage, you don't dismiss it as vague. You immediately recall your dusty guitar or the novel you never finished. Your brain fills in the specific details, and in doing so convinces itself of the statement's unique accuracy. You do all the work, but the psychic gets all the credit. This is the secret weapon of every cold reader, fortune teller, and charismatic guru on the planet. They aren't clairvoyant, they are just masters of this one glitch. They make you feel profoundly seen and understood by feeding you observations that are true for almost everyone. They create an instant, powerful bond of trust because it feels like they have access to your inner world. In reality, they've just handed you a mirror and convinced you it's a telescope pointed directly at your soul. Imagine this. You're leaving the grocery store, juggling 4 overstuffed bags, and fumbling for your car keys. A friendly-looking man approaches you with a warm smile. He says, "Wow, we've really got our hands full, don't we? Here, let me get that door for you." It seems like a perfectly nice gesture. But that one little word, "we," is a powerful psychological tool. It's a technique security experts call forced teaming. In an instant, the stranger has manufactured a shared experience. You are now a we. You're a team. You're in this together. And if you now say, "No thanks, I'm fine," you suddenly feel rude, paranoid, ungrateful. He's just being nice, right? This is the Trojan horse of helpfulness, where manipulators weaponize our own social programming against us. This isn't about a single named bias. It's about exploiting the core rulebook of human society, our deep-seated need for reciprocity, and our aversion to social awkwardness. We are wired to cooperate. When someone does us a small, unsolicited favor, holding a door, offering help, giving a compliment, our brain's social algorithm flags it and says, "This person has been kind. You now owe them, at the very least, your polite attention." Predators and con artists understand this better than anyone. They use small, unsolicited acts of niceness as a key to unlock your trust. It's a low-risk, high-reward strategy. They aren't asking you for anything yet. They are simply putting you in a state of subtle social debt. By accepting their small gift of help, you have implicitly entered into a transaction. You've given them an opening. Now they can ask where you live, what you do, or if you need help carrying those bags all the way to your door. And it becomes much, much harder to refuse without appearing like a jerk. Our internal threat detection system is designed to look for obvious danger signals: anger, aggression, overt threats. It's not looking for a smile. It's not looking for someone offering to help. That's why this works so well. The manipulator is cloaking their bad intentions in the one costume our brain is programmed to ignore: the costume of a nice, helpful person. So remember, true kindness is a gift, given freely. It doesn't create pressure or make you feel awkward for refusing it. Predatory niceness, on the other hand, always feels like a transaction. It's a Trojan horse, and if you let it inside your walls because you're afraid of being rude, don't be surprised when you find it's full of bad intentions. Above all else, your brain is a storyteller. It absolutely despises loose ends, randomness, and ambiguity. Think about it. When someone cuts you off in traffic, your brain doesn't just log it as a neutral, random event. It instantly writes a story. That guy is a selfish jerk. When a friend doesn't text you back, your brain writes another story. She must be mad at me. We need a narrative. We need a cause, an effect, and a cast of characters with clear motivations. This storytelling impulse is one of our most powerful cognitive drives. It's also one of our most dangerous. This glitch comes into play when we're faced with a painful contradiction, a state psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Let's say you are in a relationship with someone you love and trust, but they do something cruel. Now your brain has to hold two opposing ideas at once. I am a smart person who loves and trusts this good person, and this person I trust just did a terrible thing. That contradiction creates immense mental stress. To resolve the stress, the brain has two choices. It can accept the painful new reality: the person I trust is actually harmful, and I made a mistake. Or it can rewrite the story. And 9 times out of 10, it will choose to become a fiction writer. The brain will start editing. It minimizes the bad behavior. He was just having a bad day. She didn't really mean it. It magnifies the good memories, replaying them on a loop to drown out the bad ones. But remember that one time he was so sweet? It creates a new narrative where the hurtful act is just an anomaly, an out-of-character moment for the hero of the story. You are no longer evaluating the person based on their actual behavior. You're desperately trying to make their behavior fit the story you've already written about them. This becomes a narrative prison. The more you defend this edited story to yourself and to others, the more you believe it. Every time you say, "You don't know him like I do," you are reinforcing the prison walls. You've become a character in a book you're writing in real time, trapped by a plot that demands you continue to trust the villain because you've already invested so much in telling everyone he's the hero. Breaking free isn't just about leaving a person. It's about admitting that you are an unreliable narrator of your own life. There are few figures more trusted in a community than the friendly volunteer, the cheerful neighbor, the person who dedicates their time to charity. In the 1990s, in a quiet suburb of Chicago, a man named John Wayne Gacy was exactly that person. He was a successful contractor, an active participant in local politics, and most famously, he was Pogo the Clown, a character he created to entertain children at fundraising events and local hospitals. He was beloved. He was seen as a pillar of the community, a kind, funny man who cared about kids. This image, this powerful public display of goodness, served as the perfect camouflage. It created a massive blind spot in the collective consciousness of everyone who knew him, preventing them from seeing the monster he was in private. This is the danger of the moral ledger illusion. Our brains want to keep things simple, and that includes our judgment of other people. We tend to use a simplified accounting system for morality. When we witness someone perform a significant act of kindness, like dressing up as a clown to make sick children laugh, we don't just see it as a single action. We enter a massive credit on their moral ledger. This one, overwhelmingly positive data point, can blind us to dozens of smaller, negative ones. It makes us think someone who does that couldn't possibly do this. It's a conflict our brain refuses to compute. We assume that goodness is a monolithic trait. If someone is good in one highly visible area of their life, they must be good in all the other, private areas. This creates an empathy blind spot. Our own ability to recognize and appreciate kindness makes us incredibly vulnerable to those who know how to perform it strategically. The most sophisticated manipulators, and in the extreme case psychopaths, understand this moral ledger intuitively. They don't perform acts of charity because they are good people. They do it because they understand that public kindness is the most effective shield for private cruelty. It's strategic camouflage. They know that a handful of grand, visible gestures of empathy will buy them more trust and credibility than a lifetime of quiet decency. They use our own best instincts, our own desire to see good in the world, as a weapon against us. Here it is, the final and perhaps most counterintuitive glitch on our list. We all know about the Dunning-Kruger effect, the cognitive bias where people with low ability at a task overestimate their own skill. They are, in short, too ignorant to know how ignorant they are. But the truly dangerous part of this effect isn't just about the clueless, it's about the experts they fool. You see, the Dunning-Kruger effect has a flip side. Genuinely skilled, intelligent, and expert individuals often do the exact opposite. They underestimate their own abilities. Because they are so deeply aware of the complexities, nuances, and vast unknowns in their field, they are acutely conscious of their own limitations. This creates a dangerous paradox. The person who knows the most is often filled with the most doubt, while the person who knows nothing is filled with the most confidence. This sets the stage for the competence mirage. Think of the story of Elizabeth Holmes and her company, Theranos. She wasn't a world-class biochemist, but she was a world-class performer of competence. She adopted the black turtleneck of a genius like Steve Jobs. She spoke with unshakable, unwavering confidence about changing the world. She used just enough scientific-sounding language to seem plausible to outsiders, and it worked. She convinced brilliant scientists, former secretaries of state, and Titan investors to pour billions of dollars and their reputations into a technology that was fundamentally a fraud. How? Because these intelligent people fell for the mirage. An actual cautious scientist might say, well, there are significant hurdles to overcome, and the data is still preliminary, but the initial results are promising. The charlatan says, this works perfectly. It will change everything. I am 100% certain. To a brain that equates confidence with skill, the second statement, while a complete lie, sounds far more trustworthy. This is the ultimate glitch. Our brain uses confidence as a lazy proxy for competence. We are evolutionarily wired to follow the most confident-sounding leader, not the most thoughtful or nuanced one. The con artist has simply mastered the art of faking that one signal. They know that true experts are often plagued by imposter syndrome, while they themselves have no such handicap. It allows the most ignorant person in the room to command the trust of the most intelligent. So the next time you meet someone who has all the answers and not a single doubt, be careful. You might not be looking at a genius. You might be looking at the summit of Mount Stupid. So there you have it, more proof that your brain's security system was designed by the lowest bidder. If you want to keep exposing the psychological bugs that run your life, make sure you're subscribed for the next deep dive.